Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest. Peter Evans, CEO of Xtract One, and Joshua Douglas, Senior Vice President of Product and Engineering. Xtract One is an AI security company that utilizes artificial intelligence and machine learning to develop products that save lives and great times. Their AI security products combine end-to-end technical knowledge with a passion for problem solving and a commitment to meeting their customers' unique needs. Their approach is fueled by continuous investment in research and development, strategic acquisitions, and an insatiable drive for progress. They deliver practical AI security solutions that put people first, preserve the patron experience, and optimize staff capabilities and maximize venue safety. But I'll let Joshua and Peter tell you more about that in just a second. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Tim with Alpha Wolf Capital with Joshua from Xtract One. Joshua, good to see you, man.
Great to see you again.
All right, so look, you're going to take me through a couple of things here.
Sure.
With the original unit that have been upgraded.
That's right.
Right? Okay. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so as you know, this is the smart gateway. We've had it in the market probably close to about 4 years now.
Yep.
So a lot of advancements and improvements on it over the years, like it's IP54 rated. Great. But what is exciting about this release that we have pushed out for the show is we've advanced the speed in this system. And you may be thinking to yourself, could you get any faster? And the answer is yes. The engineering team, the product team have been hard at work. And what we've done is we've gotten to sub-second times be able to get people through the system. So that means we went from like a long time ago when we first started, about 3 seconds, maybe a little bit longer.
Okay.
We're now down to less than a second to process a person.
Got it.
So that's one feature that we've released. The second feature that we've also released is a brand new user interface. We're revamping it so that way you can use it on all types of devices. It can be on tablets. It can be on phones. You can get it across the board, resizes, does all this great stuff. And we've also introduced a divestor view where you can start to mark things. And we'll be moving that forward as we move forward too into view so we can start collecting more data.
Okay, gotcha. So when you say mark things, what does that mean exactly?
It means that you can make sure that you mark it as a threat or not a threat. And then we can use that information to determine what's going on with the algorithms as we move forward.
Okay. It looks beefier for some reason.
I think it's just the wraps. They look really good, number one, but we did make a lot of improvements on the bezel designs and things like that because we needed to pass that IP54 rating.
Okay.
But would you like to see it speed-wise moving?
Yeah.
If you just move around to the other side, I'll show you. You're going to see that it really moves very fast now. As soon as I step out of the gate, it's right on.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah. So
and you had
it's an ASTM standard, a large mimic.
All right, got it. That's awesome, man. So how fast? So they're your competitor potentially, right? Yeah. One of the benefits to having the double lane.
Sure.
Right, is having. But you've kind of narrowed that gap, right?
We've narrowed that gap down to a single lane, meaning that we can move so fast now that it's really up to the people on the other side to be able to process as quickly as we can.
Right.
So now everything else starts to become the bottleneck.
Okay. I love it, man.
And if you think about it, our competitive products, like some of them have screens that sit upwards of almost 11 feet behind the system because it takes that long to actually generate an alert.
Yeah. The graphics on it are new too, aren't they?
Yeah, this is fast flow. Very cool, very fast and seamless. It makes it so the guard doesn't have to think a lot about what's on the other side. They just need to know, does it turn red? And if so, please grab the person there and move them on to secondary screening.
Got it. Love it, man. All right, so now let's talk about the one gateway.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, so the Xtract One gateway is new as of last year. We introduced it at GSX.
Yeah.
But we obviously were keeping it close hold with a tight group of people and starting to move that forward. way it was designed wasn't necessarily the same as we did for Smart Gateway. Smart Gateway is really designed for like low person belonging environments where you're thinking about keys, wallet, watch, maybe earbuds, and somebody may have a clutch, right?
Right.
And we want to identify if there's a knife or a gun on that person. Now, there's been a hard problem to solve, which is identifying threats inside of bags while ignoring laptops. So that's why we generated the Xtract One Gateway, because we wanted to make sure that teachers, students, workers, people going into hospitals or convention centers, if they had a laptop or whatever, we reduce the mean time to ingress, because we don't want it to alert on laptops, but we want it to alert on guns, for instance.
Right.
So would you like to see that happen?
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll see in here, Tim, that we have a lot of things that typically would alert on somebody. The laptop,
Yep.
3-ring binder. I got more. Power bank, a water bottle.
Oh yeah, you got all kinds of stuff in there. Okay.
In there, right? Now, same principles apply. You know, we need to make sure that we have set up right. We need to make sure that people are coming through.
Right.
Make sure that so we'll go through like that. So it's about reducing the mean time to ingress, right?
Yep.
I was going to say it's be perfect where you have 0 alerts, but we definitely minimize it, and so you don't recognize that laptop. Now, so we have a weapon.
Yep.
I walk through. You see that the threat alerts.
And it also is letting you know where at what level that threat alert is, right?
100%. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this weapon inside the bag. We identify the threat in the bag.
Yep.
I'm going to take the threat out. See that light up yellow?
Yeah.
The reason it's doing that is because we're doing object detection where we identify a laptop leaving, but we identify a gun going in. So we're doing object classification on those weapons.
So let me ask you a question. For retail, if I walk in with that duffel bag,
sure,
and something happens to go in that bag that maybe wasn't supposed to go in that bag, and I'm walking out with it without paying for it.
Possibilities are definitely there. So we have a lot of customers that have seen this technology and what we have.
Yeah.
And they're really thinking like, wow, you may be able to identify like theft of laptops or other things. So imagine a world where somebody can come in and say, I want to detect on a gun, a knife, a laptop, other things that basically are there. It could be for theft of property.
Yep.
It could be intellectual theft because you want to make sure that no laptops are going in or out. You could also just be identifying weapons. So we've completely opened up the capabilities with what the product can do.
Could you get down to, USB port? Right? Drives.
Look, technology, everything's possible. Have we made it there? Not yet.
Okay.
We're constantly innovating and we're going to get down as small as we possibly can. But right now, we're focused on the core things that our customers want.
Right. That makes sense. It makes sense. I'm just trying, I'm thinking about, a Walmart or one of these retail centers, right? Where they've had to put everything behind plastic glass practically, right? It'd be nice if they could not do that.
Yeah, that is a good use case, though it could also be a number of other things. It could be a distribution center where people are going to work. And maybe you want to check for guns going in because you're thinking about their safety. But on the way out, you want to make sure that they're not stealing any of the product that is actually in the warehouse.
Right. Excellent. So I have to imagine at the schools, this is a big hit.
It definitely has opened a few eyes because now you're minimizing the alerts and the time of people getting into the building. But the other thing that's also interesting is that you're not invading the privacy as much. Because you can imagine if I put in an X-ray system in, for instance,
right,
you're going to have to look through that bag at some point in time. But if I can make it so you don't have to look through as many bags and you're minimizing the risk, you're going to have a much better experience. It's going to be one where privacy is kept in the first place. As soon as I have to let go of my bag, privacy is already gone.
Right. So I have to, there's nobody else out there that has this right now, right?
Not that we're aware of. Some people may claim it, but I think that there's a lot of things out of context when that's claimed. Like, for instance, if you're going to say you're going to ignore laptops, you may be ignoring guns, for instance, because it's the same size.
Right.
We've done something special here with this system and how we've taken our proprietary sensors and translated that into our AI. They can read the difference between those items.
I don't think there's anything more important than feeling safe wherever it is you're going.
Yeah, and helping people. That is something that I think that everybody on my team thinks about.
Right. Passionate about it.
Passionate about it. I know that Peter is. I know the entire executive team. That's what we think about day in and day out. It's not just, hey, how do we turn a dollar? It's really, how can we take what we're doing and make a difference?
Right.
And we enjoy working with each other, which makes it even better.
So do you feel as though there are some things that you're working on now that you guys are getting close on, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. This idea of where we move to next, the things we think about, like, we've been talking about, could you combine ticketing and like screening together? I think that's just the cusp. We're so fast now on our existing product that now we can really start to amplify that game and think about the rest of the mean time to ingress. When we start to think about that, if somebody comes into the door to the time they hit their seat.
Have we shipped any of these out? I mean, customers have the one gateways now?
We do have some customers that have it. We've done a number of like on-site demos and things like that. We've got, things that we are in the works of. People are talking about like what's next, when do they get them, that sort of thing. And super excited, not only about what we have here, but even the experience and the change that we're making at facilities with Smart Gateway. Because let's not forget, like, the world isn't made up of just guns and laptops. We have a number of customers that sit in the UK, Europe, Japan, whatever.
Knives, right?
Knives are a big thing.
Yeah.
Right. And with Martin's Law in the UK and that potentially propagating to other countries, like, there's a huge impact that can happen with Smart Gateway as well.
So just out of curiosity, so you've already got all the gateways that you have placed. Is the upgrades that you're doing, do they have to change their gateway, or is that a software thing?
Software. That's what's amazing about what we do. We compute on the platform, we make modifications to it, and we push it to our customers. That's a big difference compared to our competitors, because a lot of them are very hardware focused. It's ASICs, and they can't really change the way it gets impacted.
Right.
We built the product so it was extensible, and that's why customers are now going to get the advantage of that speed that you're seeing. Same thing when we move forward with Xtract 1 Gateway. Software on there and the amazing things that we can start to do. The world is still open for us, and we got a lot more coming.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see how excited you are, man. You're getting me pumped up. You know what I mean?
Good.
Ball of energy you are.
Sundays.
How's the show been?
It's been amazing. We've had a ton of great prospects, customers that have come here. Some of the people that have seen our gear and actually tested it out before, and like, even when they see the speed on the Smart Gateway, they're like, whoa, why did you do that? And then they come over here and see that, and they're just like, they're amazed, because again, we're solving hard problems. We're not trying to sell customers just more and more product. We're trying to solve the problems that they have.
Right. It's fantastic, man. But
what can I say? We have to execute. We're going to continue to execute. We're going to continue to deliver.
Just to give me a rundown of the types of customers that have come by.
We've had museums. We've had very large, like, warehousing institutions. We've had hospitals. We've had corporate offices. Number of partners that have shown up. Sporting venues that have been here. All looking to see what we've done and how we can help advance it.
Okay. And overall, in general, excited?
I think every one of them are almost in disbelief when we show them the things that we've done on both products.
That's fantastic.
So, as we talked about before, they want to see where the threat is.
Yep.
As soon as I go through here on that one, it centers it, shows you where the threat is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So as I'm walking on, you'll see is the investor view. You see that I walk through here. You can see a picture of me. I can tag it as a threat. This is also the threat tagging I was telling you that's on the
Yep.
smart gateways now. So we're unifying the interfaces between here, smart gateway, and view, so it's all consistent. And likewise, just like smart gateway, it'll stay one consistent color as you're starting.
So do me a favor, walk through it with the gun down by your thigh.
You can see that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, even on the gateway itself.
Yeah, it lights up. Like it pinpoints where it is. That way you can see that it's on that side as well.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, which is nice. And just make sure that we know. If I'm walking out with like,
Yep.
see that, and on the screen here, best of you, we'll see that we saw a laptop that actually left the building. See that?
That's awesome, man. It's exciting.
It's cool stuff.
It is cool stuff. Thanks, Joshua.
But here's my button, otherwise I'm talking.
Hey, everybody. Tim from Alpha Capital coming at you with a follow-up with Peter Evans live at the booth for the, what is the show again?
ISC show.
There you go. All
Here
right.
in Vegas,
Here in
right,
Vegas.
the back door of the Sphere. Remember when you and I walked around the neighborhood
In 120-degree weather?
under 20-degree weather, and we found a great place to have the Sphere in the background?
Yeah.
Those are the old days. The new days are some amazing things happening coming forward.
Yeah? All right. So I just got the walkthrough with Joshua
Right?
on both. You guys upgraded the standard,
Yeah.
and you've got the one gateway here.
Yes, sir.
And I have to say, pretty impressive on both units, right?
It's been a fun day, and I think one of the highlights for me was we had a gentleman come on by, and he went and checked out 3 competitors, and said, "What do you think of the one gateway?" And all 3 of them said, "Yeah, what they're saying that they can do, you can't do it. Physically impossible, can't do it." And he came by, and he walked through, did all the tests that you would normally do. He looked at me and said, "Boy, are they going to be surprised." We've done something really, like, we talk a lot about breaking laws of physics with the smart gateway. We've bent the laws of physics with a smart gateway. We've broken the laws of physics with the one gateway.
I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gave me a little rundown of all the different types of customers you've seen in the last few days.
Yeah. It's an interesting scenario because, we met with a school organization earlier today. And they're saying, look, everyone's response is to pull up an X-ray machine beside this thing to deal with battles. And the comment that gentleman made was something along the lines of, "I don't want my school to look like a TSA security line." And more interesting and more importantly, it doesn't solve the problem. Because yes, I could put my bag on the X-ray machine, but the other systems don't catch the knife unless you crank it up to a level that's so high that there's so many false alerts. So the child puts the knife in their pocket, puts their smartphone and those kinds of items into the backpack, and they walk in with a knife
Right.
because the systems don't detect knives well. So I haven't solved the problem of school security, even though I've bolted on 2 systems. I bolted the U-Haul to the back of the pickup truck or the station wagon, even better analogy, right? And, we're driving the Porsche 911. Eat
Yeah.
my dust.
All right. So, I mean, I'm sure the interest level is high.
Very much so.
We had the slip up on the last couple of quarters, right?
Revenues were lower in the first quarter, bookings and revenue.
Yeah.
That's okay. They were one-time events. We had one customer came by here today. They've actually shifted their order. But they were a customer who we expected to deploy in the first quarter. They delayed for some very, very good reasons. We had another customer who, due to staffing issues, could not deploy as fast as another. So some one-time events, not something fundamentally wrong with the business.
Right.
But in second quarter, we did what, 13.5 million of business.
Yep.
Those 2 quarters combined were more than our overall business plan that we'd approved by the board. So we made up for and actually exceeded our first half, business plan. And things are continuing to grow. We're not slowing down. We're not stopping. The other thing that I think is interesting is, and this is a little bit why we're not giving guidance out to the marketplace. There's a lot of variability in SaaS subscription business versus upfront. Historically, we're sort of around 50-50, 60-40 with upfront versus subscription business. Well, the last couple of quarters, that's flipped. It's been as much as 70% subscription business and 30% upfront. So what does that mean? Simple math. Last quarter, we did $13.5 million in bookings. If it was the same ratio, say 70-30 versus 30-70, that means about 40% of that $13.5 million of business would have been upfront revenues. 40% of 13 million, what's that? 6 million, 7 million? Can't do the math in my head right now, I'm sorry. Added to the 4 million we did, we would have done 10 million revenues and we would have been record quarter revenues. The revenues haven't gone away. They're just coming out month by month by month. So that's what our bookings backlog is showing. We've got $37 million of bookings backlog. It's a hell of a number.
So where do you think the disconnect is with Wall Street?
I think there's a couple things going on with Wall Street right now. And this is just opinion.
Yep.
I've talked to lots of different folks, lots of different investment bankers, and they'll give you different views. Okay. Some people are saying they're looking for more revenues. Okay. I get that. The revenues haven't gone away. They just haven't happened one time, they're coming over time. So I'd like to see that because they want to see us get to cash flow breakeven faster. So I understand. That's one set of opinions. The other set of opinions is we're not listed on the NASDAQ, so it's holding back institutional investment by those hedge funds, family funds, investment funds who are limited to only investing in US-based exchanges, the NYSE or NASDAQ.
Yep.
And that's something that is in our future at the right time. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. So there's that school of thought. The other idea is we've plumbed the depths of the Canadian market. Are there any new money coming in? So why we're starting to ramp up our activities in U.S. Marketing of the shares and the stocks and the value of the company and the value we deliver to the marketplace to start to generate more into us. Okay. Then there's a couple other factors in there. I think, small caps have been hit hard, right? So there's a little bit of that too. The value of the company is there. It will get unleashed as we continue to see more and more bookings and more revenues.
Let's reflect back because I can go back there to when we first met.
Yes.
And when you came in, the prior team was really focused on school, right?
Here?
At Xtract One.
Xtract One, at Patriot One.
Patriot One, yes.
The prior team, quite frankly, was very focused on pumping up the stock. Okay? But unfortunately, and hopefully our investors already understand that. If they don't, let's just get it on the table. There was no there. There was no product. There was no partners. There was no sales. There was no revenues. The product wasn't deployable in that format. It detected weapons well, but it was not consumable in the structure and the format.
Right.
It just couldn't be deployed. So there's a lot of, right? There's all the really cool videos showing a lot of really cool stuff. But there was no there. There was nothing to back it up. So, stock price grew on hype. Unfortunately, a lot of people bought it on hype, right?
Yep.
And then it tumbled back when people realized there was no revenues underpinning it. That's why we've been very focused as a business on the fundamentals. High growth, high profitability, top line revenues, GP. You probably saw in our last quarter, we continue to whittle away at the cost of the operations of the business. We, delivered a quarter about 70% GP. That's unheard of for a hardware business.
Right.
I worked at places like Dell and IBM and others. 70% GP, people kill for a hardware business. And so I think we're doing very well and we build that scalable business operations. Now it's just a matter of how much fuel can you drive into the gas tank to make the car go faster and faster.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks out there.
Of course.
And I think they forget where you were than where you are today.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of critiques about the fact that, you didn't focus on schools right away. Shareholders have been saying, oh, focus on schools, but you didn't want to focus on schools until you had the right product.
Well, and quite frankly, that was a conscious choice. When we came on board, looking at it very simply, okay?
Yep.
You're in my shoes, Tim. We had 3 months of cash left, no product, no channels, no customers, right? No references. I've got to turn the thing around. You've got one marketplace, which is the arenas and stadiums that already have security screening, already have security staff, already have patrons who are used to being screened, already have budgets. I can come in and say, I can do that better, faster, cheaper, and have a great guest experience. And all you have to do is take your existing budget and shift it to me. Or I can go after schools. I have no budgets, right?
Lots of red tape.
Complex decision-making process between the school security, the governors, the state, the police, the PTA, everyone else, fighting for budgets with the band and the football team and teacher salaries and everything else. It's probably about a 2 or 3 year sales cycle. The schools opened up when grant money came out after FEMA or after COVID and the FEMA money.
Right.
But it just didn't feel right to go sell to a school. They spend $500,000, $1 million with you for a product that's going to alert on 100% of children going in the door.
Right.
You've sold them bullshit. And that just doesn't feel right now. So there were schools who were still willing to spend. And we want some schools. And because we had a better product than alternatives. But we didn't have the same sort of grant money behind us and things like that. So the school said to us, look, if you can solve the laptop problem, that was their way of saying the heavy clutter and backpacks.
Yep.
Right? Not only, the superintendent told me is directly, if you can solve that problem, not only am I going to place in every school, I'm going to buy shares in your company. And I've called that superintendent back and said, come see a demo, right? And interesting enough, they're one of our new customers.
Right.
So, so that's why we deliver the one gateway. The happy accident with the one gateway, and Joshua might have talked about this, was as we continued to develop the sensors to do that, we found out that we created an object identification and recognition system. So not only does it go beep, they'll tell you, beep, there's a gun in the backpack. As an example, I was talking to a hospital just this morning. They're using one of our competitors, and they acknowledge that, yeah, we're finding things, but we're finding things because all the backpacks are alerting, and now my security guards are going through, and they're guessing what alerted. But they might still be missing the gun in the bag.
Right.
They'll see a laptop and go, oh, it's a laptop, but there might be guns sitting at the bottom. The hospital acknowledged that. They said they've had guns come through, and they've discovered they've had knives come through. So now, when the person comes in, and it goes beep, there's a gun in the bag. They don't keep looking until
you find the gun.
Exactly. So now you've got a whole different paradigm. The customer experience is better. The security staff's experience is better. People are getting in faster. I think I've shown you the video of the school.
Yeah.
Where all those kids were flowing in.
Oh, yeah.
Fast.
Yep.
We're seeing that over and over and over and over again. So I could have been dumb luck. Could have been, brilliance. Could have been karma, treating us right for doing the right thing to others. But the demand on the one gateway has been unbelievable. And having said that, we continue to sell a lot of the smart gateways right now. Those came back from Asia, would not believe the amount of interest because knives are the big problem.
So the smart gateway, the upgrade that you guys have is the time
Yeah.
at which you go through and it can register.
There's a lot of things. We continue to upgrade the AI algorithms to lower the false alerts.
Yep.
We continue to upgrade the AI algorithms to be more and more and more effective on detecting weapons. The biggest benefit was essentially our fast flow software. It's actually so fast, we're doing more throughput than you'd probably see from a double lane from someone else.
That's what I brought up with Joshua. I said, so now you've kind of closed the gap
Yeah.
on the whole double lane argument.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you were at the point where I was actually at an event where we had fast flow going, and the security guys going, whoa, stop. Because it's now so fast, you're standing about a foot away from the system. It's alerting like this.
Yep.
And 3,000 times an hour. That's a lot for the brain to handle. So now you take off the table the question about throughput. You take off the question about alerting, because we're probably alerting at 1/4, 1/5 the level when we catch the knives that the other solutions do. So I've got the throughput, I've got the knives at a level that's 1/4, 1/5 of the false alert rate. It becomes a very simple decision.
And you've got better graphics. I mean, you kind of updated everything,
Yeah.
right?
So our game here is to be the innovative leader.
Yep.
Right, we're going to lead with innovation. There are solutions that lead with cheap. There'll always be the cheap guy, and there's people who are always going to buy cheap.
Yep.
We had one chief security officer told his superintendent, "We have to go with Xtract 1." And the superintendent, unbeknownst to the chief security officer, decided to go with another solution. Said, "I only have so much budget." They'll regret it. In 16 months from now, they'll come back, right? So it's okay. We can wait. We don't have to go down into the dirt.
Right.
We'll go sell to customers who value security and value innovation. On the other hand, you've got a competitor whose idea of innovation is bolt a second machine on. What are they going to do when they still have another problem? Third machine, a fourth machine, a fifth machine? It's silly,
Right.
right? So our approach is innovation. And where we're going with innovation is every market segment has something unique about it. That's the big problem they have to solve. Manufacturing, steel-toed boots. We're the only guys who don't build steel-toed boots. All of a sudden, I become a default, right? I don't care about wires between the system. If I'm getting 100% alerts on steel-toed boots, solve that problem. Schools, solve the laptop problem. Arenas and stadiums, solve the ticketing problem, right?
Yep.
Distribution centers of retail, solve the theft problem.
Yeah.
because
So
we-
that's another thing we were talking about is you've got a backpack on.
Yeah.
Going to a Walmart, and somehow something got in your backpack that maybe you didn't pay for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that you guys can address.
Yeah.
That's what you're working for.
The magic that something got in your backpack, right?
Right.
But the issue with the Walmarts, or not the issue, the opportunity with Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazon, UPS. There's a story in the news the other day about up in Manitoba about a gentleman who had been sent to jail, whatever. He worked at one of the big postal services, the shipping logistics companies. And over the course of a number of years, he's been stealing smartphones. And he's stolen $627,000 of them.
Wow.
And just put him in his pocket, walking out the door. Put him in his pocket, walking out the door. And so, this is the distribution centers are the place we've got the biggest issue. When you get to, for example, Christmas, I'm bringing in temporary staff for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the problem accelerates. So if I'm losing $5-10 million a year per distribution center, I can stop that with a single one gateway, alerting on the earpods going out the door. It's a huge ROI. I did the math on it, and I think the solutions pay for themselves in 4 months. It's a nice ROI.
That is a nice ROI.
That's part of the reason that one gateway is doing so well. But again, I'm going to come back to specific markets. Schools, stop the alerts on the backbox. Check, got that. Unique value proposition that solves a major problem. Distribution, stop theft. Unique problem, huge ROI, we can do that. Manufacturing, stop alerts on steel-toed boots. Unique problem, we can solve that. So you become the default for all these different market segments.
All right. So let me ask you some obvious questions here, like tariffs.
Yeah,
How do you feel as though that's going to impact it?
it's going to impact everyone. So, people say, oh, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Well, guess what? Our competitors import their parts from China. Also,
Right.
they're affected by tariffs also. The other side of this is we're very happy, and again, maybe it was dumb luck, maybe it was good karma, but the subcontract manufacturers that we use for assembling our technologies are global in nature. So they have manufacturing facilities in New Hampshire, Alabama, and Germany, and other places around the world. And all the processes, they're not on a piece of paper on someone's desk. They're all online and things like Epicor systems and whatnot. And so, anyone anywhere can pull down that process. They've got supply chain to bring in parts anywhere around the world. So we just shift it to one of those other locations, and you're up and running in about 7 days.
I guess on the flip side of that,
Yep.
the positive is
Yeah.
it sounds like we're going to have a hell of a lot more factories in the United States.
There'll be a lot more opportunity to shift the business. But we're not going to abandon Canada. Our international business is growing unbelievably. As I just mentioned, I just got back from Asia. Martin's Law just passed this morning in the UK. Martin's Law, for those who are unfamiliar, requires any venue with more than 800 people to screen for weapons. And if you don't screen for weapons, it's an 18 million pounds or 5% of revenue penalty every single year. It's got some teeth to it. And it's, as we all know, the major issue outside of North America is knives. So the point being, there's so much business that's going in Canada.
Yep.
There's a real buy Canadian sentiment right now. There's so much business going on in Europe and Asia for us right now. We're going to maintain our facilities in Canada to serve those other markets.
Makes sense.
We try and make sense wherever we can. Yeah. We're trying to make sure we're doing things pragmatically. Right? My whole objective since you and I first talked is I want to grow a high growth, highly profitable, predictable business. Right? Based on transparency and integrity. The industry, unfortunately, is characterized by a lot of, let's say, exaggerated marketing. We tell people, here's what we're going to do. Here's our milestones, and we make sure we exceed those.
Right.
Right?
And you've done a fantastic job. But
So far, but there's a lot more I want to get done here, Tim.
and I know that, right? And you have an impatient investor base. I mean, I can't even tell you how many battles I have had on stock twits and
Yeah.
over your stock and
Yeah.
your performance and some of the stupid things that have been said. And I often say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do feel as though you're underappreciated. And that, look, people base, if the stock was flying,
Yeah.
you'd be a god,
Yeah.
right?
And it's really a strange oxymoron that our stock was higher when we had no revenue, no business, nothing. But we're still seeing the echo effect of a lot of the stock hype. Okay. There's a report that just came out last week from one of the investment banks in Canada. They've done a full deep dive on us, an example. They've renewed coverage on us. And it was very, very, I think it was conservative in nature, but I think it was pragmatic. And, they had us, I think, paid to 80 cents a share, so doubling. I think that's somewhat conservative myself. To me, the best thing we can do is, I don't want to get into a scenario of overhyping the stock. I think I got a full week of investor meetings next week to go out and get to those organizations and give them a story, give them an update, follow through on all the second quarter results, give them a little bit of a view of where we're going in the future and how the product's doing. And we'll continue to do that, but we're going to do that with the right organizations in the right way.
I think the biggest concern for everybody is that, the longer it takes for you to get the cash flow
Yeah.
positive
Yeah.
or break even means potentially more dilution.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. There's always that concern.
Right.
And my answer is always the same. And, do we need more cash? No. Would I take in more cash if it was going to cause accelerated growth? Possibly. If one of those big retail organizations came to me and said, I want 1,000 of these things,
Yeah.
right? We're standing right here by
Yep.
one gateway. That's a lot of working capital dollars we need because we have to buy the parts in advance. And by the time our subcontract manufacturers build the systems and move them out the door, it's probably about a 90 to 120 day period from the day they place the order, or we place the order with them and they place the order for the parts and all the way through.
Yep.
So there's a period in there of we've outlaid cash to converting it and monetizing it.
Yep.
So you need working capital to manage your way through that. So would I take in more working capital for that objective? Sure. But if I'm selling 1,000 of these things, we're not going to have any trouble getting cash flow break even. Look, I'm a shareholder also. I don't want to get diluted either. They don't adjust my shares if you have to take.
So, speaking of that, I'm glad you just brought that up. Have you bought shares recently?
I have in the last since the beginning of the year. I think I bought 2 tranches, about 50,000 shares or something like that each. I've got a daughter at university. I've got my bills to pay.
Yep.
But if all of a sudden I come into a little cash, and I have a good sense of where we're going, probably better than anyone else on the planet. So I'll go buy some shares, and I will continue to do that. But I've got a mortgage to pay just like everyone else. I've got kids in university just like everyone else. So but as time and money allows, I'll buy shares.
What do you think investors should be looking at to feel as though you are executing on the plan?
Yeah. So the big thing to me is the bookings backlog. Those are customers who've signed contracts and typically have set up a schedule for deployment. Simple example, one distribution organization, they have 10 factories they want to deploy systems into, but they can't do all 10 right away. So we've done one. Next month, we're going to do one. They've got their plan. Would I like them to do all 10 in 10 weeks? Sure. But they've got their plan and how they want to roll this out. That might take 12 months to do. But that is a predictor of the future. If we did nothing else, right? We all just put our feet up and ate pizza. We'd do $37 million of business in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick math at a 70% GP and about a $19 to $20 million of OPEX every year. 37 million at 70% is about $22 million of profit, 19 million of GP. Sorry, not GP of OPEX. I'm cash flow break even. So if we did nothing else, we're cash flow break even. But that's unacceptable to me.
Right.
I want to build that bookings backlog to 50, 60, 70, 80 million, because that's the indicator of future growth and the path to cash flow break even.
When you get comfortable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do you see that as that would be the opportunity when you have a good window of what's coming?
Yeah.
And nothing's guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, COVID could happen. COVID 2 could happen. Who knows what the hell happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when you get to that point where you feel comfortable, you've got the backlog is there, you're gaining momentum.
Yeah.
One gateway is selling like hotcakes, right? You think that's the time when you look to do an uplist?
Absolutely. The only thing that's holding us back from doing uplist is two things, really. The first is to be on NASDAQ, just to be there, takes about $2 million a year for all the licensing, $2 million US a year, for all the licensing, all the work you have to do just to serve NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Kind of dead money. For $2 million, boy, would I like to do 10 more things with the one gateway and 5 more things with Smart Gateway and gain more and more business. Right? And, we only have so much cash in the bank. We might want to take this much of it and go put it into, uplisting the NASDAQ. The flip side of that would be, yes, do that because it'll open up the aperture and the stock price will go up. The stock price will go up, but then we won't be able to serve the business and keep running it. We'll be out of business.
Right.
You need cash to pay salaries. So, there's those things going on. The second thing is, as we saw in our first quarter, it was a little light. There were one-time events that we could not control that caused a little bit of a down quarter.
Yep.
If you're on NASDAQ, you get crushed with it. Now, we took a hit from, on being on the TSX. But if we were on NASDAQ, that hit would have been significantly more. And so we want to make sure we've got some of the stability there too. Third point to that is there's really two markets that we serve from an investor point of view. There's those markets who are looking for high growth. I don't care how much money you're losing. Grow 500% a year.
Right.
And just keep taking more money, keep taking more money, and go, 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 go. Then there's the second market, which is about cash flow break even. More conservative, right? But that's a different kind of investor mentality versus grab more money, keep burning it. Grab more money, keep burning it. So you got a high growth market, and you've got a cash flow break even. I think we are very unique in this, in the sense of we're growing very high, very fast, and we're at cash flow break even. Very soon, we're going to be serving both markets, which is very, very unique.
That will be a differentiator.
That's a fulcrum point for going to NASDAQ because you serve both investment communities.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think that will be a tipping point for you guys.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you see as your challenges, Peter? What?
Biggest challenge is there's a lot of demand. And how we serve that, and in some cases we have to walk away from certain things. We had a customer call us the other day, and it was very, very clear they're just going to buy the cheapest solution out there. And so there's a lot of demand and sifting through that. Okay, so that's one. Two, we've got a great innovation engine. Me personally, I'm impatient. I'd like to accelerate things even more. I do not like the stock price. That to me is a big challenge. And we're trying to do everything that we can that's reasonable to not repeat some of the sins of the past, but get the right sentiment around growing the stock.
It's so funny because you have the retail investor who wants to hit, wants press releases, and announcements of customers. The reality is there are certain customers that don't want their name.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
We get this. It's funny. We had our earnings release, which was a fantastic earnings release. And 5 days later, someone emailed me and said, "What's happening with the company?" It's been 5 days since an amazing press release. We've got some retail investors who want to know what I eat for breakfast every day and where I'm traveling to and how many customers. We sign NDAs, right? We can't do that, but also it creates a lot of delusion. Oh, we met with this customer and that customer. Everyone's going to be like, great, the stock's going to the roof. They may never buy.
Right.
And so we also have, it's the security industry. It's unbelievable to me how many people, like we have it written right in our contracts that we can do a press release. Every customer strokes it out. We're not telling people what we're doing. We do not want that announced. Some of the sports organizations will announce, but usually you have to pay them very large sponsorship fees. We're working on one deal right now with a customer who deployed our competitor's technology, and they shared with me that they got a $2 million sponsorship, right, to use the logos and do a press release and do a case study. That's an awfully expensive logos,
Yeah.
right? For $2 million. For $2 million, I'll go to NASDAQ first, right?
Right.
And so, not everyone wants to do press releases. We have a hopper of, I don't know, a dozen of them right now. I thoroughly expect that 10 of them will be rejected by the customers and we'll get 2 of them out the door. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
That is the reality. But I mean, it eventually it shows in the numbers.
At the end of the day, the numbers are what matters, right? I'm sure our retail investors would like us to put out our numbers every week. We have an obligation quarterly. And that's what we try and provide as much information into those quarterly earnings reports. And again, I invite our investors to listen to those earnings reports, listen to the detail behind them, read the MD&A. There's a lot of thought, and a lot of detail. We had one, we did the earnings announcement, and then another investor emailed 7 days later and said, "How's the company doing?" And they hadn't listened in to the earnings report.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
That's where a lot of information comes to give you the guidance on what we're doing. Look at the analyst reports like the one that came out last week. They do detailed investigation.
So
they're experts.
Who was the analyst?
I believe it was Amr, who's previously done reports on us too, but he's with a new company.
Okay.
I'll send you a copy and you can publish it if you'd like.
That'd be great. Any other brokers or funds that are kind of sniffing around at all?
Yes. We're constantly briefing all the different brokers, all the different banks. We're trying to get more and more coverage out there. I'm not a fan of doing third-party paid coverage.
Yeah.
Lots of folks who come to us and say, "I'll write a report on you."
It's going to cost you this.
But it's going to cost you this. And so all you're really doing is buying positive press,
Right.
which everyone's
Is worthless.
And there's some folks who will say, "Oh, that's great." Everyone knows it's paid for.
Right.
And therefore nobody takes it seriously.
Right.
And, let's put it this way, the wise investor does not take it seriously. Make a difference, whether that's through innovation, whether it's to your customers and their business models, however that is, make a difference. Have a lot of fun, right? And that comes down to the quality of the people you work with and the customers you work with. We work with some excellent customers. We were over the Sphere just the other day doing an upgrade to all their software, the fast flow software.
Yep.
They loved it. They were ecstatic. They're so happy to see us. Those are quality customers. It makes the job really fun as fast as I can. I don't like what's happening in these stocks right now. We're doing everything humanly possible in terms of bookings, revenues, briefing of analysts.
The bottom line is, as you continue to execute, as this one gateway starts getting into customers' hands and you start getting rave reviews, and it's going to come. If you continue to execute, it will come.
It absolutely is. And the number of customers who walk by us here in the booth today and say, "Look, I've deployed this product and I have these problems. Can I look at your system?" They walk through and they go, "Oh, you don't have that problem. Oh, you don't have that problem. Oh, you don't have that problem." And, I was talking to one customer who's got a system deployed from a competitor. They said, yeah, the sensors failed. And they were out for 6 months.
Oh,
And we didn't realize, right? And does your system tell you if a sensor failed? Yeah, I'll show you right here on the screen. It's designed to be self-managed. That's just not really good business. Our approach is let's do some things with transparency, integrity. As I said, we're a high growth, high profitable, predictable business.
do you feel you need, how are you with staff? You feel you need any more salespeople or,
We got some job recs out right now,
okay?
looking to increase our channel partner relationships because they're very, very good and they're growing. More and more partners coming to us right now. And we're also feeling very good about the expansion of the business across North America and in Europe. And so, we're very pleased. And we're actually being very selective. We're not taking everybody in. We want to work with the right folks, a lot of integrity, a lot of transparency, willing to work on our systems and understand them and bring value to us. There's a saying about being VAR-led opportunities versus VAR-fed. There's no value to me if I'm creating the opportunities and just handing them to a partner. So all I'm doing is giving them a slice of the margin.
Right.
We've got some great partners right now. One of them is a very strong partner of our competitors who's flipped their business over to us. And every week, they're calling us 1, 2, 3, 4 more opportunities. So they're helping us scale our sales.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they're delivering a lot of value, a lot of relationships. They understand the technology. They're representing us very, very well. That's what you want from a partner.
Right.
So
that's good. That's more good news.
more good news.
Right.
Oh, we're executing on all cylinders right now. And again, whether it was karma, intelligent planning, dumb luck, right now it's like we're hitting those fulcrum points right at the right time. I was hesitant to introduce one gateway when we did, so I wanted to get further down the beta path with more customers that we could immediately do press releases on. But we thought GSX was the right time to announce it, and it's like we hit the market right at a time when others were stumbling and had investigations. Right at the time the number of schools were coming up to renewals. Right at the time the number of places like convention centers and hospitals were saying, let's get serious about looking. So,
And then you got this law that was just passed in the
the UK. Now,
Okay.
the UK is going to be a smart gateway strategy because we did a third-party test in the UK with a very, very well organization. We're catching tiny little sets of scissors that was mandatory to catch. And their comment was, you're catching 3 times more prohibited items than we would, and you're getting everyone in twice as fast. And they were averaging about 2,800 people per hour, which is a significant step up of what we're doing. We then did a demonstration with a large professional football club, soccer club, and we were peaked out at about 49 people per minute, so roughly 3,000 per hour on a single lane.
Jesus.
And that's fast. That was awesome. And that was in the pouring rain, subarctic temperatures, everyone in jackets and boots and hats. And it was great. I loved it. It froze my ass off, but it was fantastic.
But this just gives you an indication of where things would go.
Exactly.
Right.
We're doing fine. We're continuing to execute. And it's funny, sitting here in Vegas, thinking back to some of our first interviews, I remember our first customer we signed. It was a casino. First customer we signed after I joined was a casino. You have this pecking order. The Wynn, maybe next is the Bellagio, maybe next is like Venetian Aria. And you get down there a little. Now I'm at MGM, Caesars. I keep going down. Now I'm at Circus, Mountain Name. Maybe I have some of the old school ones, like a kind of a little old. This one was down below your shoes. And they had homeless people underneath the blackjack tables.
I got you.
The carpets, I threw my shoes out after walking through there because there's so much blood in the carpet. It was ridiculous, right? That was our first customer. Then I look at the Sphere.
Yeah.
Who's ecstatic, who's gladly and graciously hosting customers on our behalf. And we're talking about chief security officers from iconic venues around the world. We just send them a quick introductory email. They go, come on by, right? We've come a long way in 4 years.
You have come a long way in 4 years.
Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Senior Vice President of Product and Engineering, Joshua Douglas, and CEO, Peter Evans from Xtract One. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.